Imagine standing in a room filled with noise, arguments, and conflict. Every instinct tells you to stay, to fight, to prove your point. But what if the real strength lies not in the battle itself, but in your ability to quietly turn and walk away? Walking away isn't an act of surrender, it's an act of mastery. As Epictetus once said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. So what if the most powerful reaction is no reaction at all? Make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and let's dive into how mastering the art of walking away can elevate your life. Lesson 1. The strength of walking away lies in what you refuse to carry. Picture this. A man stumbles upon a heavy boulder in the middle of a path. Frustrated, he believes he must carry it, thinking that leaving it behind would mean defeat. So he strains every muscle, dragging the stone behind him. The longer he carries it, the heavier it becomes, until he collapses from exhaustion. What he fails to realize is that the path was never blocked. The stone was simply an obstacle in his mind. The power to move forward was always his, but it required something counterintuitive, the decision to let go. Walking away can feel like betrayal of your pride, your emotions, or even your sense of justice. But the paradox is that power isn't always found in confrontation. Sometimes it is found in the refusal to engage with what drains you. Whether it's toxic relationships, unnecessary arguments, or situations designed to trap you, walking away isn't running from a challenge, it's running towards freedom. The stone you insist on dragging doesn't weigh less over time, it only grows heavier, pulling your energy down with it. How many times have you carried resentment or anger, thinking they were weapons, only to find they were anchors? The hardest part isn't the physical act of walking away, it's resisting the temptation to turn back. People will challenge you, guilt you, accuse you of being weak. What if walking away means I lose, they might ask, but that's the trick. The real victory lies in no longer needing to win. The moment you realize that some battles are irrelevant, you gain power. You stop fighting for control, approval, or understanding from those who will never offer it willingly. Instead, you reclaim control over the only thing you truly possess, your peace. Think of fire. It feeds on fuel. Arguments, grudges, toxic conversations, they are all fires that can only grow if you throw more wood into them. Walking away is like starving the flame. Without your attention, it dies. People may try to provoke you, but silence is your shield, and distance is your sword. When you master the art of stepping away, you make the boldest statement possible. You no longer have control over me. But here's the twist. Sometimes you have to walk away not from others, but from the version of yourself that clings to chaos. We often convince ourselves that staying and enduring means strength, but endurance without meaning is just self-imprisonment. Walking away is not abandoning the world. It's choosing which battles are worthy of your energy and which are not. In life, your attention is your currency. Spend it wisely, because not everything is worth buying into. So, the next time you find yourself caught in a situation that drains you, ask yourself, what am I holding on to and why? Are you carrying the stone because it serves you, or because you think you should? True power comes not from force, but from freedom. The freedom to say, this is not mine to carry, and to leave the boulder behind without regret. Lesson 2. The silence after you leave speaks louder than staying. Ever could imagine two warriors standing face to face on a battlefield, swords drawn, each waiting for the other to make the first move. The tension is thick. They both believe victory lies in who strikes first. But what if, just as one raises his sword, the other calmly sheathes his weapon, turns, and walks away? Not out of fear, but out of wisdom, because he knows some fights are not worth the scars. The stunned warrior left behind might sneer, but the absence of battle leaves an echo far more unsettling than the sound of clashing steel. The silence you leave behind when you walk away carries a weight far greater than any argument or confrontation ever could. Most people stay not because they believe they will win, but because they fear the uncertainty of absence. They worry that if they don't say one last thing, make their point clear, or fight until exhaustion, they'll somehow be diminished. But here's the twist. Staying in the fight is often a reflection of insecurity, not strength. Real power isn't proven in the struggle. It's revealed in the refusal to participate. When you walk away, you create a void, and that void speaks volumes. It says, I don't need this to define me. I don't need you to understand me. I am complete without this. The person who can walk away without explanation wields the sharpest weapon, indifference, and there is no defense against indifference. Think about a conversation spiraling into an argument. The words fly faster, voices rise, and each person digs deeper into their position. You might win the argument, but at what cost? The emotional energy spent in proving yourself right is a currency few can afford. When you walk away mid-argument, leaving your words unsaid, you flip the narrative. Now the other person is left wrestling not with you, but with the silence you left behind. They expect a reaction, a fight, a rebuttal, anything to confirm their importance. But when you offer nothing, they are forced to face the unsettling truth that they no longer hold power over you. And that realization, it is far more devastating than any response could ever be. There's a strange irony in human interaction. People tend to value what they can no longer access. Your presence, your words, your energy, they only become precious once you withhold them. Walking away makes others confront the void of your absence, and in that quiet space, your power grows. They will replay your silence in their mind, filling it with questions, doubts, and regrets. But those are not your burdens to carry. True mastery lies in knowing when to leave, not just physically but emotionally and mentally. It's not enough to walk away if your mind stays trapped in what you left behind. Let them talk, let them wonder, let them replay the unfinished scene over and over. That is the power of walking away. It says without words, I am no longer part of this story. Write your own ending. And when you learn to leave with that kind of quiet confidence, you won't need to look back, because by the time they understand your absence, you'll be far ahead, walking towards something better. Lesson 3. Control is an illusion. Freedom begins when you stop chasing it. Imagine holding sand in your palm. The tighter you squeeze, the more it slips through your fingers, scattering beyond reach. Now loosen your grip, let it rest in the hollow of your hand, and suddenly, it stays. This paradox is everywhere in life, especially in relationships, ambitions, and battles for control. The harder you fight to hold on to something, whether it's a person, outcome, or sense of identity, the more it resists. But what if the power isn't in holding on, but in letting go? Walking away isn't a sign of failure, it's a declaration that your worth is not tied to what you cannot control. We live in a world obsessed with control. Control over relationships, emotions, and even other people's perceptions of us. But here's the trap. The more we chase control, the more we become enslaved to the things we're trying to manage. You cling to an argument, trying to win it, believing victory will bring peace. You grip relationships tightly, afraid that if you let go even slightly, the person will leave. But in doing so, you don't own the relationship. It owns you. The real paradox is that control breeds anxiety, while release brings freedom. And walking away? That's the ultimate act of release. It's saying, I don't need to control this, because it no longer controls me. Think of the way people try to control love. They believe if they say the right things, make the right moves, or hold on tightly enough, they can guarantee affection. But love, like respect or admiration, doesn't respond to control. It responds to freedom. When you walk away from what you're desperately trying to keep, You give it space to breathe, to grow, or to fade, and either way, you win. If it was meant to stay, it will return willingly. If not, you've dodged the weight of something that wasn't truly yours to carry. The tragedy isn't in losing what wasn't meant for you, but in wasting your life fighting to keep it. Walking away isn't just about leaving a person or a situation. It's about releasing the idea that you need certain outcomes to feel whole. You stop trying to manipulate situations or force people to act in ways that meet your expectations. You realize that peace doesn't come from control, it comes from surrender. And surrender isn't weakness, it's power. It's knowing that nothing external defines your inner state. It's saying, this situation doesn't need me, and I don't need it. Here's the tricky truth. Control is comforting because it gives the illusion of safety, but it's a mirage. The tighter you hold on, the more unstable everything becomes. Real power lies in knowing when to release the grip, when to walk away without bitterness or regret. It's the power to let go of what you never really possessed in the first place. And that's the kind of freedom most people spend their entire lives chasing, only to discover, too late, that it was always within them, if they'd only stopped forcing it. So, the next time you feel the urge to fight, to cling, or to control, pause. Ask yourself, what would happen if I just let this go? You might discover that walking away isn't the end of power, it's where it begins. So here we are, back at the edge where we began. Remember the opening question. What if walking away isn't weakness, but power in disguise? Now, perhaps you find yourself not at the edge of something external, but on the brink of a personal transformation, ready to release the things that have held you back, the illusions of control, the battles that were never yours to fight. But the real question is, what will you do now? Will you walk away from what no longer serves you, or will you stay, clinging to what you cannot change? The power is already in your hands. All that's left is a choice. Don't just let these words drift into memory. Take one small step today, a thought, a conversation, a decision, to reclaim your peace. The future isn't waiting for you to win every fight. It's inviting you to know when to leave. And as you close this chapter, ask yourself this final question. What is more powerful, holding on to the weight of things, or freeing yourself by walking away?